So I just watched Moana 2 and it was fine. This movie is part of a long list of movies that are technically perfect but are just very hard to get invested in. I just didn't care about any of the characters in this movie. I mean, the best way to review this movie, in my opinion, is just go chronologically and just say how I feel about whatever happens. So, in the beginning of the movie, we see Moana on an island and she's searching for clues of other civilization. So, essentially, a big thing in this movie is that they're trying to find other people and other civilizations. And that's like a pretty good goal for the movie, I think. But one big issue is that they don't establish the importance of doing that and they don't give it enough stakes. We need a strong reason why Moana has to do this or something bad will happen.
My island is dying.
Obviously, we know Moana's character, she craves adventure, so I'm sure she'll do it anyway. But in an action movie, it's good to have a stronger character motivation, some kind of ticking time bomb element. For example, something like the island and its neighbors are sinking, and Moana needs to find other places to live, or else they'll all die. Or there's a disease spreading through the island, and Moana needs to reconnect with the world because there's one particular culture that has the medicine to deal with this, and they need them, or else everyone will die. And oh no, Moana's little sister is sick, and she's gonna die unless Moana connects with the world. Something like that. And by the way, that is the cutest character I've ever seen. I was expecting her to like get taken hostage or something in the middle of the movie because it's very easy to worry about cute characters like that because they're cute. I was kind of annoyed that didn't happen because the actual movie ended up being kind of boring. I think the only reason that character is in this movie is because everyone liked the cute Moana from the first one and they just wanted to cater to that audience. So anyway, Moana finds a clue on the island that she's on, and they do some quick research and find out that that particular island is essential for connecting different civilizations across the world. But this god Nalo sunk it because he didn't want mortals having power. And that brings me to my next point. This movie has no villain. And of course, there are plenty of movies where the characters are fighting against a force of nature or something like that, and it's still very interesting. So the problem isn't as much as is there a villain or not, it's more like is there character drama or not? Because drama has to drive the plot. And even in the movies where there isn't like a person who's a villain, basically, there's always drama either between different characters or at the very least within a character, right? And of course, Moana is a commercial popcorn movie, and they're not going to have internal conflict in a character complex enough to be interesting. So really, the villain is just an essential thing basically because the villain is just a tool that creates drama. It's a tool that creates an environment where you root for and against certain characters, and it just makes the movie more entertaining to watch. There's a reason that traditional, hateable, just like evil villains work so well. But anyway, so moving on with the plot, Maui gets captured by someone who we find out in the end credits of the movie is actually a henchman of Nalo. But even she isn't like a real villain or a real threat because she is secretly helping Moana behind Nalo's back. So basically, there's no person in this movie for us to root against. I feel like these Disney animation studios movies really underestimate the power of a good villain, whether it's Frozen or Zootopia or whatever. But anyway, I wasn't a fan of these characters really, the side characters of Moana too, because they were just tropes with nothing added on. And there's nothing wrong with tropes, of course, but you need to do something with them. A trope is like a blank template. You can do whatever you want with, but if you just use the template as it is and do nothing with it, it's just kind of boring. I feel like the Maui simp guy could have had a stronger character arc. We need that moment where he learns to stop looking up to others to such an unhealthy degree. We need to see him dealing with the harshness of the real world because this is the first time he's going there. Up until now, he's just been telling stories, and now he's actually out there doing the things that he's talked about. We need to show him struggling and figuring that out, realizing how hard it actually is. There needs to be a low point where he's down and like almost ready to quit, basically. But then he realizes even Moana and Maui, the ones he looks up to, actually have their low points as well, but they always get back up. And by the end of the movie, he stops simping as much. and learns to view them on more of like an equal footing or something like that. I know it's a kids movie, and you're gonna get the criticism like, why are you taking the kids movie so seriously? But the thing is, as much as it's true that kids are not likely to complain about the kind of things that I'm complaining about today, these things that I'm complaining about do make a difference in terms of whether kids enjoy them. Even though a kid may not verbally complain about it, it definitely makes a difference on the level of impression it has on them and the extent to which the kid is likely to remember the movie. It affects how likely the kid is to ask their parents to watch it again, or to ask their parents to get it on Disney Plus or whatever, right? So it is definitely worth having like good characterization and well written character conflict and a good villain or whatever, because it does affect the movie's success even with children. I mean, think about the movies that had an impression on you as a kid, right? Even if it was a bad movie, there was something in it that evoked something in you, something rather than nothing. So my point is that it's totally worth having more than the bare minimum of characterization, even in a kids movie. And the old guy, I mean, he was fine, I guess. He's supposed to be like the relatable character who says what the audience is thinking. I think there's like one line in the beginning where he's like, "Why do you have to sing?" After us, that's like, it's that character, right? It's the meta character or whatever you want to call it. But they didn't overdo it or anything. He was fine. It's just weird that they took an elderly on this journey with them across like stormy seas and stuff. So anyway, they need to deal with this giant clam that's in the middle of the ocean to get to wherever they want to go. So they end up teaming up with one of the little coconut guys, and they get stuck in the middle of the giant clam, and they meet Maui inside. And now is when Moana meets the character that captured him. And again, it's just a reminder of how lame all this is. I was expecting there would be some kind of heist or some kind of fight with this character for them to escape, but no. She just lets them leave because she likes Moana or whatever. Again, things like this just make the adventure feel easy. You want the protagonist to go through some challenges and for it to seem like a difficult thing that they're achieving. And that's just completely taken away when you have elements like this, where the villain just let them go because she actually doesn't hate them. Honestly, it just feels like Moana just breezed past this whole movie. So anyway, they leave that location and get a bit closer to where the sunken island is that they need to rise up. And here they have a battle and they get washed ashore on a tiny island, where they find Moana's ancestors' old boat. And Moana has a bit of a low point here. And it wasn't well done in my opinion at all, because I didn't feel the low point immediately. Because as I was watching the scene and the scene was progressing, I was like, Wait a minute, is Moana supposed to be having a low point here? Is this like some kind of low point?"
What, we some kind of suicide squad?
And that was the way I was watching the scene. It was like, wait a minute, this doesn't feel like a low point at all. I was just not convinced of the low point. It feels like she was just sad for no reason. And the thing was like, the reason they got washed ashore, the battle that happened, didn't feel any worse than all the things that have happened so far to Moana, whether in the last movie or up till now. I feel like she's been through like probably worse than this and come out on top. So why is she so upset about this like small thing right now? I mean, is there something I'm missing? Honestly, that just wasn't powerful enough. So when you're writing a low point for a character, the audience needs to feel that low point as well. We can't just know that it's a low point. We need to be there with the character and understand why they feel the way they do. So yeah, that just wasn't convincing at all in this one. Honestly, it just felt like the whole reason they had that low point was for The Rock to sing a song again. And the song itself wasn't even that good. So there's just no reason to have like this low point here. Or at least write it better or something. But anyway, honestly, it just kind of annoys me when they don't even try to write like a good low point in a movie. So anyway, Maui sings her out of the low point, and the other characters were never in a low point to begin with, so I guess we're good to go. And they have a battle in the end, and they win. I mean, that's all there is to it, though. It goes through the traditional sort of beats that an end action scene in the movie should have. So, in the middle of Maui lifting up the island, he gets struck by lightning and falls down, and that's sort of like a low point. But he gets up in the end. They try to make it seem like Moana is dead in the end. Uh, Obviously, she isn't. She gets up, and I guess she's a demigod too now or something. But the main issue, obviously, I'm nitpicking on individual things at this point, but the main issue really is that there's no emotional weight in any of this. We need something to really be invested in. The issue is that this movie feels like it's just going through the motions of what a movie is supposed to be. It hits all the beats that it feels it needs to, and none of it feels important or significant ever. And none of it feels like it's impacting your characters in any way. And it's very hard to end up rooting for the characters, and that's rooting for the characters is essential in a movie like this. They really need to put a lot more time into the screenplay. And again, I'm not exaggerating. There is nothing in this movie in terms of character drama. Like, it is actually zero. No one hates anyone, nor does anyone's affection for anyone grow, or no relationship is built. As I said, there's no villain. The movie ends where it starts in terms of where the characters are psychologically. I can't say that nothing in the movie changed, because obviously the characters achieved the goal that they planned to, and obviously that's making a big change in the world building. But the thing is, that on its own isn't enough, because all of this stuff about the world and this whole fantasy thing about a sunken island that needs to be risen up because they need to do whatever, and all this lore about the gods and all of that really is just a stage that's being set for the story to happen on. And the story is driven by character drama. All of those other things, all of those fantasy flavorings are just that. It's just frosting on the cake. It's not going to make the movie on its own. It's just something to spice things up. But this movie only has that and doesn't have the character stuff. Think of Zootopia. As well done as the world building and all of that was in that movie, in the end of the day, what makes that movie is the character drama. The relationship between that fox and the rabbit, right? Again, Zootopia doesn't have the best villain, but it doesn't hurt the movie as much because at least there's this other character conflict present. The thing in Moana is that it doesn't have a villain, nor does it have other character conflict. It needs to have at least one of those boxes ticked. Ideally, both, of course. Even the first Moana movie has this issue, by the way. There was something resembling a character arc with Maui and his hook and his obsession with that. And of course, there's the point where he gets mad and leaves Moana on her own. But the thing is, like, even that wasn't fleshed out properly. What we really needed was a scene or something where Maui is like talking himself back into coming back to help Moana or something like that. Because really, he just Han Solo's his way back in. And I guess we're just supposed to fill in the gaps of what happened. Anyway, I think that's about it. I guess, I mean, I'm not going to say that Moana 2 is a bad movie. Because obviously, it has its appeal. And the people who like Moana are going to like Moana 2 probably. I mean, I guess it's kind of a different experience. It's held on a different standard completely because a big part of the appeal is the music and all that stuff. So, yeah, it's not judged in the same light as like other movies are, I suppose. So, yeah, I guess, I mean, if you like it, you like it, I guess. So, yeah, that's my review of Moana 2. Be sure to like and subscribe. See you in the next video.